The Old Cowboy and the Stranger. The desert wind carried the scent of rain that never came. Across the cracked red earth, the sun sank heavy, turning the horizon the color of molten copper. The land was endless, rolling mesas, dry riverbeds, and a loneliness so wide it swallowed a man whole if he let it. Caleb Rourke had lived with that loneliness most of his life. He was a tall man, shoulders still broad beneath his faded shirt, though his hair had long turned silver. His hands were thick and calloused, the kind that had built fences, buried friends, and held the reins through storms that had broken younger men. The folks in town called him the Old Bull, not out of mockery, but respect, because Caleb had survived what others couldn't. He rode home that evening slow and steady, his horse Dusty moving at a gentle gait. The herd had been restless all week, coyotes had been prowling near the ridge, and one of the calves was sick. But the work didn't bother him. It was the quiet afterward, the kind that echoed in his chest when he stepped into his empty house. A man could live with ghosts for only so long. As he crested the ridge above his ranch, he saw something odd, a flicker of movement by the dry creek bed. At first he thought it was an animal, maybe a wounded deer. Then he saw fabric, torn, fluttering in the wind, and the faint outline of a person. Caleb dismounted, rifle in hand. He approached quietly, boots crunching on dry soil. That's when he saw her. A woman, half collapsed against a boulder, her skin burned by sun and wind. Her long black hair was tangled with dust and thorns, and her dress was little more than rags. She looked up as he neared, eyes wild and bright like a cornered animal's. Don't come closer," she whispered, voice hoarse. He stopped, lowering his rifle. "Ain't here to hurt you, miss. You look about ready to fall over." Her lips trembled. "They were taking me. I escaped." "Who's they?" She swallowed hard, tears mixing with the dirt on her cheeks. "Traders. White men from the south. They took me from my people. I ran all night." Caleb's jaw tightened. He'd seen the kind before, men who hunted the desperate, sold them like cattle. "You're safe now," he said, his voice deep but gentle. "Ain't nobody gonna take you again while I'm around." She blinked, suspicious. "Why should I trust you?" "Don't reckon you should," he admitted. "But you can trust my horse. He's gentler than most folks." That earned him a faint, startled smile. He pulled his canteen free and held it out. She hesitated, then snatched it and drank, coughing between gulps. When she lowered it, she muttered, "You speak with kindness. You're not like the others." "Name's Caleb Rourke," he said. "You got a name?" "Ayanna," she said quietly. "It means eternal blossom." He nodded once, tipping his hat. "Well, Ayanna, eternal or not, you need rest and food. Come on now, my place ain't far." Her gaze darted to the horizon. "If they follow, I'll deal with them," he interrupted, calm but firm. "Ain't my first rodeo with bad men." She studied him for a long, uncertain moment before nodding. Caleb helped her up, his large hands steady under her slight weight. She was trembling, exhausted, but she held her chin high, pride flickering even in weakness. As he lifted her onto Dusty's saddle, she murmured, "You're strong for an old man." He chuckled low. "Don't tell the horse that. He thinks I'm still 20. They rode in silence, the only sound the slow creak of leather and the whisper of wind across the canyon. When they reached his ranch, dusk had deepened to night. The cabin sat alone at the edge of the valley, small, sturdy, and worn by time, much like the man who owned it. Caleb dismounted first, then helped her down. She swayed but didn't fall. Inside, the place smelled of tobacco, horses, and pine. A single oil lamp lit the room, throwing long shadows across the walls. He gestured toward the chair by the fire. "Sit. I'll fix you something warm." She hesitated again. "You live alone?" He nodded. "Been that way near 15 years. "Why?" she asked softly. "Because I loved one woman all my life," he said without looking up, "and the Lord saw fit to take her first." The silence after that was heavy. Ayana's expression softened. "Then you know what it means to lose everything." Caleb stirred the pot on the stove. "Yeah. And I know what it means to start over, too." He glanced at her. "That's what you're gonna do now." When he handed her the bowl of stew, she ate slowly, savoring each bite like it was the first meal she'd ever had. He watched, not speaking, until she finally looked up. "Why are you helping me, Caleb?" He shrugged. "'Cause somebody should have helped you sooner." Her eyes glistened in the firelight. "You don't even know me." "Don't have to," he said. "I know what scared looks like. I seen it in my mirror more than once." She blinked, surprised by his honesty. After supper, he offered her his late wife's old blanket and pointed to the bed. "You take that tonight. I'll sleep by the fire." "I can't take your bed." "You can," he said simply. "You need it more'n I do." Ayana hesitated, then nodded. "You're a strange man, Caleb Rourke." "Maybe," he said, smiling faintly. "But strange don't mean bad." Outside, the night grew colder. Coyotes called across the valley, their cries mournful and wild. Ayana lay awake, staring at the ceiling beams, listening to the steady crackle of the fire and Caleb's slow, even breathing from the chair nearby. She'd met many men, some cruel, some desperate, most proud. But none like this old cowboy who spoke gently and carried kindness like a second skin. He had strength, yes, but not the kind that came from muscle or youth. It came from endurance, from loss, from still believing in decency when the world had forgotten it. She turned her head, watching the glow of the fire on his weathered face. And in that quiet moment, she thought, not all strength fades with age. Some men only grow stronger when they've lost everything. What strength means. The sun rose pale and gold over the valley, spilling light across the hills like a promise. The storm of the night before had passed quietly, leaving the air clean and cool. When Caleb stepped outside, the morning breeze carried the scent of sage and wet dust, a rare, almost holy thing in the desert. He'd already been awake for hours. Habit, mostly. Years of ranch life had taught him that dawn was for work and reflection. But today, something felt different. For the first time in many years, he wasn't alone. Inside the cabin, Ayana stirred under the quilt, the first rays of sunlight brushing her face. She blinked against the glow, disoriented for a moment before she remembered where she was. Safety. Shelter. The old cowboy with kind eyes. Caleb stepped back inside carrying a steaming tin mug. "Coffee," he said simply, setting it on the table. "Ain't the finest brew in Arizona, but it'll put fire in your bones." Ayana smiled faintly as she sat up. "I can smell that from here. My father used to say coffee smelled like home, even when you didn't have one." Caleb's gaze softened. "Smart man, your father." Her eyes dimmed at the mention. He was. Until soldiers took him. Caleb's jaw tightened. He didn't ask more. He didn't have to. Pain was a language he spoke fluently. After breakfast, Ayana insisted on helping with the chores. She followed him out to the pens, her steps uncertain but eager. The sun climbed higher, the sky turning that deep, endless blue that only the desert knew. Caleb showed her how to scatter feed, how to open the gate without spooking the cattle. She listened closely, learning fast. "You pick things up quicker than my boys ever did," he said, half smiling. "You had children?" "2 sons," he replied, leaning against the fence. "Left for the city years back. Wrote for a while, then stopped. Guess city life's got no room for dusty old cowboys." Ayana's brow furrowed. "Do you miss them?" "Every day," he admitted. "But you can't hold onto what's gone. You just keep walking." She nodded slowly. "You talk like a man who's lost more than most." He looked toward the horizon, where the land stretched forever. "Maybe. But I also found what most never do. Peace. Takes years to earn it. Costs more than gold." For a while, they worked in silence. Caleb mended a fence post while Ayana brushed down one of the horses, her hands gentle and sure. When she hummed, low, haunting, a tune from her people, Caleb froze mid-motion. "That song," he said quietly, "ain't heard anything that pure in a long time." "It's for healing," she said. "We sing it for those who carry pain too heavy to name." He swallowed hard. "Guess I've got a few of those pains myself." She looked up at him, eyes steady. "Then maybe I sing for you." Caleb chuckled softly. "I ain't sure I deserve it." "Everyone deserves healing," she said simply. Her words lingered in the air like incense. That afternoon, while Caleb tended the water troughs, he saw a distant cloud of dust rising along the trail. Riders. His chest tightened. "Stay inside," he told Ayana sharply. "Who is it?" "Don't know. But I don't like surprises." He took his rifle from the porch and waited. The riders drew closer, 2 men, rough-faced, eyes cold. One called out, "We're lookin' for an Indian woman. Escaped from our wagon 2 nights back. You seen her?" Caleb's fingers curled tighter on the rifle. "Ain't seen nobody." The man smirked. "You sure, old-timer? Word in town says you're always rescuin' strays." Caleb's eyes narrowed. "If I did, I wouldn't be tellin' you." The taller man laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Careful, old man. You're protectin' property." That word, property, lit a fire in Caleb's gut. He stepped forward, the rifle steady, voice low as thunder. "A human being ain't property. Not while I'm breathin'." For a moment, silence hung heavy. The men hesitated, reading the steel in his gaze. Then one spat on the ground. "You ain't worth the trouble." They turned their horses and rode off, the dust swallowing them whole. Caleb stood motionless until they vanished, then exhaled slowly. Ayana emerged from behind the barn, pale but proud. "You could have been killed." "Wouldn't be the first time," he said, setting the rifle down. "But I ain't lettin' any man take what's innocent under my roof." Her eyes shone with emotion. "You risked your life for me." He shrugged. "What's life worth if you don't use it to protect someone?" Ayana stepped closer, her hand trembling as she reached out and touched his weathered cheek. "You're not like any man I've met. You carry the strength of a mountain, but your heart is gentle like water." He caught her wrist gently. "You've seen too much evil, Ayana. I ain't no saint." "You are strong," she said firmly. "Strong in ways that matter." Caleb met her gaze, the years between them fading in that quiet moment. The setting sun painted their faces in gold and crimson. Then she said it, half in wonder, half in admiration. Such a strong old cowboy deserves to share his genes. Caleb blinked, startled, then laughed, a deep, rolling sound that broke the tension like a warm breeze. Now that's the strangest compliment I've ever been given. I only speak truth, she said, smiling shyly. Men like you should not fade alone. He took her hand, rough fingers enveloping hers. Maybe I ain't meant to fade just yet. They stood there as the light faded, the world quiet but alive. Two souls scarred by time, bound by respect, learning, slowly, tenderly, that strength wasn't about youth or muscle. It was about surviving long enough to love again.